I'm 32, male, work in IT, pretty standard job, decent pay, nothing crazy. I've been married to my wife, 30F, for 3 years. We dated for 2 before that. I thought we had a good relationship. Not perfect, but nothing out of the ordinary. I wasn't one of those guys who checked their wife's phone or acted paranoid about cheating. Maybe I should have. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago. She became distant, but at the same time, overly nice in weird ways. Like, she'd cook more, act all affectionate, and randomly talk about how much she loved me. But then, she'd disappear for hours, saying she was visiting her friend or running errands. I chalked it up to stress, or maybe just needing space. Then, one night, she dropped the bombshell. I'm pregnant. I was shocked in a good way. We hadn't been trying, but I wasn't against it. Still, something about the way she said it felt rehearsed, like she was waiting for my reaction. I hugged her, told her I was happy, but deep down, something gnawed at me. Then came the red flags. She refused to go to the doctor with me. Said she wanted to wait a few months before doing a checkup. She wouldn't let me see a pregnancy test. Claimed she took it at her friend's place and threw it away. Then she started talking about quitting her job early, saying stress wasn't good for the baby. That's when I started digging. I checked her credit card statements. She had charges from a hotel in the middle of the day. I found restaurant receipts for 2 places I'd never been with her. I felt sick. My gut told me something was seriously wrong, but I wasn't ready to accept it. Not yet. So I set a trap. I told her I scheduled a surprise appointment for her with an OBGYN, said I wanted to be involved in every step of the pregnancy. She panicked. Suddenly, she miscarried. No hospital visit, no doctor's confirmation, just a sudden, tragic loss. And then, the final nail in the coffin, her phone. She left it unlocked one night. I don't usually snoop, but this time, I had to. What I found shattered me. Explicit texts, pictures, plans to meet up, with a guy she labeled B in her contacts. She wasn't just cheating. She had been for over a year. The pregnancy? A complete fabrication. She had tried to trap me, probably because she knew I'd eventually find out. I didn't say a word that night. I just stared at her while she slept, wondering how the hell I got here. But one thing was clear. She wasn't getting away with this, and I was going to make sure of it. I didn't confront her right away. No, that would have been too easy, too merciful. She had spent months, maybe even years, lying to my face, manipulating me, using my trust like a weapon. I wasn't about to let her walk away without consequences. So I played along. The next morning, I acted devastated about the miscarriage. I held her, told her I'd be there for her, that we'd get through this together. She leaned into me, sniffling, playing the role of the grieving wife perfectly. It made my skin crawl. But while she thought I was falling for her act, I was preparing for war. First, I copied everything from her phone, texts, pictures, even call logs. Then, I started digging deeper. I tracked down B. Turns out, he wasn't some random fling. He was her coworker, married, with 2 kids. Now, I had leverage. I reached out to his wife anonymously and sent her the evidence. She responded almost immediately, asking for more details. We exchanged information, and let's just say, she was just as furious as I was. Meanwhile, I needed to make sure my wife had no way to weasel out of this. I went to a lawyer, explained everything, and he gave me the best advice I could have hoped for. Gather everything. Make her think she's safe. Then, hit her all at once, and that's exactly what I did. I waited a week. Let her believe I was still mourning our loss while she continued sneaking around behind my back. Then, one night, I told her I had planned a special dinner to help us move forward. She was thrilled, probably thinking I was too broken to suspect anything. She dressed up, put on her fake smile, and sat across from me at the restaurant. That's when I pulled out my phone, slid it across the table, and said just one word. Explain. Her face went white. She saw the texts, the pictures, the proof of her fake pregnancy. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I can explain, she stammered. Go ahead, I said, leaning back. I got time. She tried everything, denial, gaslighting, even flipping it on me. Said I was paranoid, that she loved me, that I was misinterpreting things. Then she tried tears, When that didn't work, she got angry. You went through my phone? That's a violation of my privacy. I laughed. Actually laughed. You faked a pregnancy. You cheated on me for over a year. And I violated your privacy. She shut up real fast after that. But the best part? I wasn't done yet. She sat there, completely trapped, her face twisted in a mix of guilt and rage. But I wasn't about to let her slither away with some half-baked excuse. Here's what's going to happen, I said, keeping my voice calm. You're going to pack your things and leave. Tonight. I've already spoken to a lawyer, and I'm filing for divorce first thing in the morning. You don't get a penny from me. She scoffed. You think you can just kick me out? I have rights, you know. Yeah. I smirked, pulling out another surprise. A printed copy of my state's laws regarding adultery and marital fraud. See, when you fake a pregnancy to manipulate your spouse, that's fraud. And guess what? It voids any claim to alimony. Oh, and I've already let your boss know about your little workplace affair. Her eyes widened in horror. You wouldn't. I leaned in. Already did. She grabbed my phone, scrolling frantically through the messages. The reality of her situation finally hit. Not only was she losing me, but she was also about to lose her job, her reputation, and any chance of playing the victim. Then came the cherry on top. You know B's wife? Yeah. We had a nice chat. She's divorcing him, too. And she's coming for everything. My wife's mouth hung open. No. Oh, yes. And since you used our joint account to pay for those little hotel meetups, that's financial infidelity. Meaning? If you try to fight me in court, all of this becomes public record. She completely unraveled, screaming, crying, calling me every name in the book. But I just sat there, watching as the reality of her actions finally came crashing down. And then, the final nail in the coffin, right there in the middle of the restaurant. I stood up, looked her dead in the eyes, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You disgust me." Then I walked out, leaving her to deal with the weight of her own destruction. But I wasn't finished just yet. I drove home, heart pounding, but not with regret. With satisfaction. I had spent months being deceived, manipulated, and humiliated. Now, the tables had turned. By the time I got home, I'd already locked her out of everything. Our shared accounts, the streaming services, even the damn grocery delivery app. I wasn't about to let her mooch off me 1 second longer. And sure enough, within an hour, she came storming in. Well, tried to. Her key didn't work. I opened the door just enough to see her tear-streaked face. "You changed the locks?" she shrieked. I smiled. "Yep. Lawyer's advice. Since you miscarried, you don't need a stable home for a child. So, no claim to stay here." She tried pushing past me, but I blocked her. "Your stuff's in bags by the garage. You have 10 minutes to grab them before I call the cops." She looked genuinely shocked, like she really thought she could still manipulate me into backing down. "I have nowhere to go," she sobbed. "Not my problem." She gaped at me, probably realizing, for the first time, that I wasn't her fool anymore. Then, out of sheer desperation, she played her last card. "You still love me," she whispered, switching to that fake soft voice she used whenever she wanted to get her way. "I made a mistake, but we can fix this." I stared at her. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." Over and over again. She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. 10 minutes, I said, shutting the door in her face. And that was that. Things escalated quickly after that. My lawyer fast-tracked the divorce, and thanks to the evidence of fraud and adultery, she got nothing. No alimony. No assets. Nothing. Her affair partner? His wife obliterated him in court. She took full custody of the kids, the house, and half his income. He ended up getting fired from his job because workplace affairs went against company policy. And my wife? She tried to fight the divorce at first, thinking she could negotiate. But once she realized I had her backed into a corner, she had no choice but to sign the papers and leave. Last I heard, she was couch surfing at a friend's place, unemployed and struggling. She tried reaching out a few times, calling from random numbers, sending sob story emails. I never responded. She got what she deserved. People like her think they can get away with anything, that they can lie, cheat, manipulate, and there'll be no consequences. But this time, she learned the hard way. And for anyone out there dealing with something similar, don't let them gaslight you. Gather evidence. Stay calm. And when the time is right, burn their whole world to the ground. Oh, and if you like this, maybe subscribe. Unlike my ex, I actually deliver on what I promise.